To be honest, Side, I think that the biggest topic of conversation that I would like to focus the conversation on would be on exactly the process. Because I mean, I know you've been on a lot of different podcasts and you've generally spoken about the story of the brand, the process, what happened. But I think you're a very, very unique brand in the sense that you manage to stay true to the original vision for a very, very long time. And I think you've managed to build something that I'm like, without a question, probably if you made those decisions could grow even more. But I think you're at a point where a lot of aspiring fashion designers are, where it's still very true to the original vision. You haven't really compromised much on, I mean, I don't know how much you've had to compromise in general, but it
Mm-hmm.
seems to me based on the research that's almost nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is very unique. Very unique,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a very fulfilling story to hear because fashion is such a difficult industry, especially when it comes to growing, and especially when it comes to growing. I don't know if I want to throw the word sustainability out there because
Mm-hmm.
that's not what I want to focus a conversation on. It's just you've 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 had a unique vision that you have managed to stay loyal to, and yet you've built a successful business, which is very rare. So I think exploring how that has happened, both strategically, like on the day to day, and how everything has evolved, also personally, right? Because you and your wife are not business people, right? Again, I would put you more in the category of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you are more like artists, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and the brand is just something that you use to express yourselves, and that's resonated with a lot of people, and you've successfully been doing it for a long time. So I think diving into what's made that happen would be very, very interesting for me, and I think for a
Yeah.
lot of people out there.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Well, I mean, I guess the foundational question that I would like to ask, and by the way, it's story manufacturing, right? But most people know it as Story MFG, just so that.
It's actually it's Story MFG. I mean, MFG does stand for manufacturing, but it's Story MFG. Story MFG. We've got the trademark for Story MFG is what we went with.
Cool. All right, so let's define the foundational concept of the conversation. What is story of MFG? Is sustainable brand? What would be the definition for the foundation of the conversation?
Well, first of all, thanks for all the nice stuff you just said. I don't really have an elevator pitch for Story MFG, but what it is mine and Katie's brand. At the end of the day, it's our project, and the name tell I think telling the story of the name kind of gives a little bit of an insight, and then the rest comes from somewhere else. But me and Katie decided we wanted to make a brand. We we wanted to make a thing, but we had to build a brand around it, and then we the things that we and Katie value in products that we buy was how they're made and also like the heritage. Like it was almost as if at the time that we started, there was a lot of brands out there like kind of remaking old heritage workwear brands and like re-bringing even like in fashion, like there was a lot of like reinvigorating brands, but those brands all had heritage, they all had their own story, and that gave the brand value. So like you just have, you know, a blank t-shirt, but it was made by such and such and co. They had a heritage of making that t-shirt that gave it value, that gave it provenance. um and so we were like, well, you know, we can't really magic up 100-year history for something, nor would we want to, but we're still really, really interested and really invested in vintage. We're really, really interested in the story of how things are made. So we're going to call it Story MFG, and we're going to make sure that we're going to try our best to try and instill into people who are reading about it, learning about it, that the story of how something is made replaces the heritage of 100 years of brand history. Um, and that's that kind of information, that kind of brand marketing, messaging, whatever you want to call it. It all sounds a bit big language for me, but
Right.
to me, that's what makes like products sticky for me. Like finding out details or finding out the little bits of information and, you know, that kind of stuff. Same with anything with me, with watches, with wine, with uh cereal, with you know, ancient grains, like learning about what makes them special, hard to make, etc. And also like making sure we get across the value of the artistry and the artisanness of stuff. Katie and mine parents are both creative people. You see how important creativity is. You see how long it takes. You see how hard won it is, and you also see, unfortunately, how little people care sometimes. And it's a world where you can put a huge amount of effort in, but if a bunch of people don't all agree that that's cool, then it's not cool. And once we found out about people, this stuff going, this hand weaving and natural dyeing and embroidery happening in Thailand, China, Turkey, India, these places that we were working, how a lot of global fashion brands were using the skill from these places, but hiding the people because it devalued, in quotes, to them that if they said made in India, made in China, made in Turkey, made in Thailand. So that also seemed like, not that we knew the language back then, but it seemed like kind of an anti-racist thing to do, to show stuff, to like proudly share that kind of stuff. I remember kind of going slightly off topic here, but I remember right at the beginning talking to someone and they said, okay, yeah, if you go and take pictures and videos, just make sure you keep people's faces and keep the people out of it, because if they see brown people, then it's going to seem cheap and sweatshoppy. And I was like, fuck, dude, like this is the kind of stuff I used to hear about Arabs. Like we can't be seen because there's semantics around it. So we made a deliberate effort not to do that. And interestingly, last thing I'll say about that, we used to make fabric in those places, and then we used to bring it to the UK and we used to make it in the UK. And we used to have a small amount of customers who were like, we used to have one particular customer, actually, he was like, I only buy a British product because I don't want it made anywhere else. And I was like, there's levels where you people are proud of stuff made in their own country, and I appreciate that, and that keeps stuff alive in those countries. But something about the way he was saying it, and maybe I'm not getting the full intonation across and stuff, but it just felt xenophobic. And I was like, right, I feel like that's the last straw, because we're already having trouble making stuff here anyway.
Right.
And I was like, who are we attracting with that kind of stuff? There's a lot better stuff to do. So to answer your question in short, story is mine and Katie's project, and it kind of encompasses all the things that we care about. And early on, I think maybe even like the first month of having Story, we codified what we called the positive product manifesto, and that included that kind of set out what we wanted what the brand rules would be, because I had read, I don't know, some years earlier, an interview with the band The White Stripes, and they only have one guitarist and one drummer, and someone asked them at the time, while they were still active, does that limit you? And they said, oh, well, actually, that limitation breeds more creativity. We only have two things we can use, so we have to keep innovating within this like tiny space. And they make some of the best music ever in the world. So I was like, okay, let's set the rules now, and then it'll force us to innovate. And it really, really, really does. Like, we don't use any animal products for ethical reasons, but it's also codified there. And if we did use animal products, the brand would look so different, because there's so many easier ways of doing things by using animal products. There's so many ways of cutting costs. It's so easy. But if we then did use animal products, we wouldn't end up with the kind of knits that we have, which we're the only brand in the whole world making knits like that. And it's because we've gone through this problem solving thing, like how to use natural dyes and cotton and hand knit, and then make it interesting and this stuff. We've kind of like built a new language. So yeah, we've got the manifesto, it's things like not using animal products, things about caring about people, the kind of products we will make, the kind of products we won't make, about racism. And then the last one, which I sometimes feel like is the most important, kind of goes against it, is about being pragmatic and changing when we have better opportunity, when we've got a better understanding of something. So we really care about sustainability. We really care about, whatever what that means to us, because
The
it's not set in
subjective term
stone.
almost nowadays, yeah.
It's extremely subjective and weaponized, and becomes like a purity test. But we only have to worry about what we care about. But we use largely natural dyes, um, for craft reasons, but also sustainability reasons. But if and when we discover there's like a better alternative, then we'll use that. We're not going to just stick to one thing, and that's because a lot of the places, there's a couple of places we make that are kind of these like hippie communes that, or not hippie, not communes, but these places that were kind of founded by hippies, and that's why we're able to work with them, because they've got such aligned values. But they are stuck in time because they have values from the 60s or 70s and don't move with the times. Like, I overheard an argument at one point that they didn't want to cut down some trees using a chainsaw that was petrol powered. It's like a long argument, but they need to clear the trees to build houses. It's they need to move forward. It seemed like a very small thing. And then, sorry, lastly, I would say that in a nutshell, it's about me and Katie, as again, but what that means is just always gut checking what we care about, what we want to wear, what we want to do, and I think that's what keeps the brand authentic. And I think that being authentic is the superpower that we have. That's how we can do all those things that you said that we do, and I think it's how other brands can't do it.
Hmm. Yeah, understood. So, I mean, foundationally, it's just about trying to become a better person just through a project like Story MFG. I mean,
It's
you can
about
explore what becoming or what trying. I think what trying to become a better person would be a better definition, because it's different, right? Some people might value different things, but in essence, Story MFG is a vision and a project for you and Katie to act as you want to act, become the people that you want to become, value the things that you want to value, and hopefully share that with others that are in similar positions. And just because you've
yeah,
done it consistently, you've managed to build a business around it, but foundationally, that's all it is.
yeah. I mean, foundationally, I mean, it's not even so grand as wanting to become a better person. It's more like it's more that we make products that we want the way that we would like them to be made for us, and that's kind of as simple as it is. Like, and there
Mm,
are other people that will. I feel like it's a very pure like designer thing, to eschew what other people might want. We've gone through
right.
it quite a lot of times where we get feedback from our wholesale agent, or from a store, or from, wherever it might come from, where, it would be really great if you guys make, all the buyers are asking for X, say, like, I don't know,
Right. A hoodie,
top
an X
hats.
color
Yeah.
category. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Say like an oversized hoodie, which is something we haven't made, but I'm trying to think of something we haven't made. But say, oh, actually, so like there was a time when people were really asking for like a certain type of dress. They were like, if you like, this is what they want from you, and we're like, okay, we haven't really thought about making a dress like that. Does it fit into our world? Not sure. We make it and make it in our way, but we might not have made it from the start without that prompt, and then it just bombs. And then, because it's not something that's born out of us and our desires and our wants, and that kind of happens a lot when we kind of try and speak to someone else. It doesn't work. It only works when we make something that we would want to wear. And through the design process, that's a question we ask all the time, like, would you wear this? Would you wear this? Would you wear this? Would you wear this? um yeah.
Hmm. And what do you think has helped you stay that disciplined with that for long periods of time? Because the fashion world is it's a tempting industry. You never really know how it transforms and shapes you, especially as you grow and you become more involved with the fashion machine. So what do you think is it staying isolated and still staying Brighton, which keeps you kind of like still consistently prioritizing what's important? Is it having the right people around, the right friends that are a little bit away from all the fashion bullshit? Or what do you think has
um
helped you?
Do you know, I think being isolated is probably not a great thing. It's kind of fine for us, but everyone I know who has decided to go isolated has really not had a great time. We're actually moving back to London on Monday or Tuesday next week. We used to be there. We've only been here for 5 years. I think since the brand has kind of got more press in the last 5 years, everyone thinks that we're like from Brighton, but we just moved here just before COVID and just stayed here. We're moving back to London. I think that things go faster for people if they're in towns and places where there's more opportunities. You can go for coffees. I think the only thing that's kept us on track is that you're right. It is attempting industry, but we've never found success by doing something that wasn't for us anyway. So it's not like we've had money on the table and we decided not to take it. It's more that we've tried, every piece of feedback that we've had financially or or from people is that it looks good and it works well when we care and love it, and it doesn't when the opposite happens. But we also do have values. Like I don't want to do anything that we wouldn't want to do. A lot of things just don't make it to the starting line because it's just not something we would do. We don't have anyone. Again, I think that we don't have anyone to answer to, so that's probably part of it.
Mm.